Here we have set up the solo variant for Bora Bora. You set it up just as you would a two-player game, except for a few small changes. Let's take a look at those changes. In this variant, you will be dealing with an auto player. The auto player doesn't need a board, but he needs a space for his huts and priests, and also a space for the man and woman tiles he ends up taking throughout the game. He will also need his 3 dice and 2 more dice, each being a different color. You can simply use one of each color that you're not using as player colors. Have a D4 readily available near the play area. Put the auto player's status marker under your status marker on the status track. You are the first player. If the auto player ever becomes the first player, he takes priority in the usual ways. Before you place your initial hut at the beginning of the game, use a D4 to randomly select one of the 1 fish adjacent building spaces to place the auto player hut. Stand a wood token upright near the fire bonus symbol on your player board. Now that we've taken a look at the setup changes, let's take a look at the rule changes. Play your turns normally. When rolling, roll your action dice and the AP's 3 action dice as well. Now let's take a look at how the auto player plays Phase A. After rolling your and the auto player's dice, line the AP's rolled dice from left to right in any order. Then roll the other 2 unique D6. In my case, I'm going to use the black die and let that determine which of the 3 AP dice to use. And I'm going to use the green dice to determine the action tile. I would re-roll any 6s as there's only 5 action tiles in a 2-player game. The die he chooses for a second action is also determined randomly. If there's already a die on the action tile that would prohibit the auto player from placing his die there, roll a D4. On a 1, he places it there anyway. Otherwise, he looks to the action to the right until he can place his die. After he has placed the die, the auto player will take an action. If he takes the temple action, place the auto player priest on the appropriate temple space, then grant the auto player a fire bonus. Whenever the auto player would receive a fire bonus, look at the wooden token near the fire bonus symbol on your player board. If it's on its side, stand it upright. If it's upright, lay it on the side. If you stood it upright, use a D6 to determine which of the displayed God cards to discard. You would re-roll a 6 if it came up, and replace the card as usual. Then use a D6 to randomly determine whether the auto player chooses status increase or to get a shell. If it's a status, advance the auto player status marker by 1. If it's a shell, nothing happens. If he takes the helper action, check to see if the auto player has any untapped man tiles. Tap them or turn them to the side, then advance the auto player's status marker by the number of status symbols on the left side of the man tile. If he takes a man or woman action, roll 2d6. One determines whether the AP takes a man or a woman. The other determines which tile he takes. If the space is empty, he takes a tile to the left. If he takes the build action, the auto player gets a fire bonus. If he takes the expand action, randomly select one of the auto player's placed huts. Then randomly select an adjacent region without an auto player hut. Then put his hut in its building space. This could possibly eject your own hut from that building space. Now let's take a look at how the auto player plays Phase B. Randomly determine which of the auto player's man tiles to activate. Then do the same for his women tiles. Most man and women actions that might be available to the auto player will have no effect, but there are a few exceptions. The status actions. Move the auto player status token the appropriate number. The obtain man or woman tile actions. Randomly select from among the appropriate man or woman tiles to which the auto player is entitled. If he would normally be restricted to the first 3 such tiles, roll a d4. On a 1, he has no restrictions, so use a d6 to select the tile. The exploration actions. If the auto player could legally expand given the limits of his activated man or woman tile, place a new HUD appropriately. If there is nowhere he can legally expand, roll a d4. On a 1, he has no restrictions. In that case, randomly select one of his huts, then randomly select one of the regions he would expand into from that hut. Place his new hut in the building space of that region. If he cannot legally expand, the auto player will choose to activate one of his other man or woman tiles instead. Randomly select that as well. If he has no other appropriate tile, nothing happens. Remember that if the auto player has duplicates of any of these man and woman tiles, double them as you normally would. Now let's take a look at how the auto player plays phase C. Resolve this phase as you would in a normal 2-player game. If the auto player is the starting player after assessing the status track, then you will randomly select one jewelry tile and one task tile to remove from the board before you get to buy a jewelry or select a new task. The game ends just as in the base game, and the end game scoring is the same as well. Alright, what did I like? The mechanic to choose what die to place and where to place it seems fair and plays smoothly. With only a few extra rolls, you can effectively mimic the dice play of another player. It also allows you to keep the tension of where and when you are going to place your die, which is an essential part of the multiplayer game. I also like the novelty of standing up and laying down the wood token for the fire bonus. It's not a game changer, and sometimes it will result in nothing happening. I just like having a little extra thing to manage, and makes this feel more like a variant. What didn't I like? Does the auto player do enough to really make it feel like a multiplayer? There are going to be just enough actions that the auto player won't take or won't come up that will make you feel like it's just you and your decisions out there. It does let you play your game, but the point of an auto player is to get in your way and make you zig when he zags, and that is lacking just a bit here. Overall, this variant manages to set up a smooth play of the game with a few moments of frustration due to the auto player's actions and his ability to take an action even if it's restricted. Its mechanics seem sound, and it should offer you many plays, with each play being different enough. You may be looking for ways to adjust the difficulty level just to make it so you really have to work to earn the favor of the gods.
Hey, I'm Hans, and if you like what you saw, go ahead and click subscribe below, and good things will happen for you forever.